All right, welcome. It has been a while. Testing, testing. It has been a while since I have been here with you all. Welcome. Welcome back. If you are new here, welcome. Hello, my name is Asaya, the creatrix here on the Earth's Feminine channel. Today, I want to get into my car manifestation story, okay? And I want to talk about how sometimes we have a desire. Sometimes we have something that we have been wanting for a really long time, okay? Like a year, a couple months, um maybe even like many years. We've been wanting something for a really long time, but it hasn't happened yet. And I want to get into what the reasons why the thing that you really desire hasn't happened yet, because this is something that clicked for me, like really locked in for me when I manifested my new car that I have now. I just recently purchased a brand new car, and I have been without a car for a little over 2 years now. And I haven't really talked about that or that experience too much because it was something that I was kind of swimming through on my own. And I knew that once I swam out of it, once I did manifest a car, I was going to have something to say about it, because the same experience that I was having with this prolonged time period that I felt like I was waiting for my car to appear was a similar experience that I had when I was living with my parents, or I had been chronically in these situations where I'm not going to pin too much responsibility on myself, because I was literally super young. I was in my early 20s. I was 20, 21 years old, a teenager, right? So I can't expect, like, for me to basically already know how to be independent and already know how to be on my own 2 feet. But I did know that once I got um into a situation where I was a mother now, right? I'm a mother, and I'm still in this situation where I am basically living with other people, and I am unhappy in my living predicaments. Okay, when I was younger, like pre me becoming a mother, which I became a mother at 21 years old, or 22, I think, 21 or 22. Um Probably 22, because my daughter is 8 years old now. But there was a period of my life where obviously I was really young. I was not fully independent. There was one period of my life where I had lived with roommates, and that was when I was in college. So I was kind of independent to where didn't have like parents hovering over me, but I still had a shared space, and I still would get into these moments where I felt like people were expecting me to compromise in ways that I just did not want to have to do living on my own. So I had never experienced the autonomy and the power and the authority that comes with living in my own space and having my own space. So once I became a mother, that gap between where I was and where I wanted to be, which where I was um dependent, right? Dependent on my parents, dependent on them taking care of me and them providing a roof over my head. And right, the reason why that felt so intense at that moment was because now I was responsible for another life. Now I'm responsible for a child. Now I'm I'm being treated like a child when I'm actually a mother now. So that energy just didn't line up anymore. And when I was in that predicament, I felt the gap between where I was and where I wanted to be intensely. So intensely that my mind couldn't go anywhere else other than I need to get my own place. I need to be in my own living space. I need that power and autonomy for myself. And during that time of feeling that intense desire, right? So it doesn't have to be a situation where it's taking years and years. Usually this feeling pairs up really well with the prolonged time frame, right? Like this feeling of, and I'm not even going to just call it a feeling because it's an actual reality of you're waiting months and months and years for this thing that you really really desire to land in your life. It's just not landing. Okay? The emotion that pairs up really well with this is the frustration, right? This gap that I'm describing right now. So I was in that energy for a long time. But this is the thing, during that time period of me being in that energy, I had multiple opportunities to move out. I had multiple opportunities to leave where I was at and go on my own journey of independence. Okay. Now, the opportunities that were presenting themselves at that time, I knew wasn't like ideal, right? Meaning like I knew that this person who was offering me a place to stay, like I had plenty of men in my life. Well, I had a good handful of men who were interested in me at the time. And I don't know if I was fully interested in them. I knew that they were interested in me and I was open to the connection. But I knew that I had a lot of men in my life at that time who were ready and willing and like, here, you can come live at my house. You can come live at my place. Like, and a lot of these men, they were offering me. I even had a man actually offer me a house to live in California, right? And like I was gonna have the house to myself um and everything like that. So I had like several opportunities to move out, but I didn't act on it. I didn't accept any of those opportunities. Okay. And so it had me in this space where I was like feeling like what I really wanted was taking years and years and years to show up. Okay. And I didn't just have men offer me opportunities, I had a friend of the family offer me an opportunity, right, to move out. Um, I had another friend of the family who offered me an opportunity to move out, although I didn't really trust that opportunity that much. Um, because the energy with that was just kind of weird. And this is another thing I can get into because kind of this falls into the territory of falling prey to parasitic energies, right? Like I talk about this in the sovereign. This is one of the modules that I have laid out inside of the Sovereign Queen Guardian, which where this is where I'm diving into money parasites. But this is really like energetic parasites, right? When a woman um isn't able to hold her power and her authority 100%, she will tend to attract money parasites or just like parasitic energies that in get off or enjoy her being in this vulnerable space or not being in a state of full authority. Because I do remember that there was one point where a friend of the family offered me a place to stay, but her energy towards me was interesting. Okay. And all the signs that I lay out inside the Sovereign Queen Guardian around the way someone will behave when they want you to be out of your power will behave. Okay. So that is a really important course or a program that I have available for pre-enrollment. The link to that is down in the description. But the thing that I'm really wanting to talk about, that I mean, the Sovereign Queen Guardian supports this 1000%. But what I'm really wanting to talk about today is closing the gap on that desire, on that intense desire, right? It could be something like moving into your own place, right? Or it could be something like manifesting a car. It can be something that feels really big, like it's a really big thing. And, you know, you've never done it before or whatever. What I did to close the gap, okay? What I did to close the gap on moving out into my own place and becoming self-sufficient, becoming um finally having like the experience of living on my own. Well, honestly, I've never had that experience of living on my own in my entire life, because the moment I did get the opportunity to move out on my own, I was a mother. So I have forever and probably will forever be um in companionship with other people. um which isn't a bad thing. But when it comes to closing the gap and what I did to close the gap on finally moving out on my own, right? I realized that there were a lot of things that were in the midst and in the way of me finally getting to that point where I closed the gap. So what you have going on in your own life, there's could be something in your own life that you have waited for years and years, this desire that you have, that you want to just come already, right? To just land already. It could be a love relationship. It could be meeting your person. It could be not just meeting your person, but being with your person, having a solid relationship with your person. It could be manifesting a car, it could be manifesting a new home, it could be manifesting, like whatever that thing is. There is a gap, right? If it has taken you years, if it has caused you a lot of frustration and a lot of intensity in like emotion, it could be frustration, it could be anger. I know for me, it can like, because I'm a manifesting generator in the human design, they say when you're in your not self energy, you either will express frustration or anger. And for me, anger and frustration definitely sounds about right, because I can get angry and frustrated um when the gap isn't closing. Okay. So closing that gap. Okay. When that gap finally closed, I realized that there was a lot in the way of me actually moving out into my own home. When I finally manifested my brand new car recently, I love my car so much. Me and my daughter named it. We were thinking about the name Rainier. I don't know why my daughter chose that name, but she said, let's name her Rainier. And then I was like, well, the car is really comfortable, so let's name her Comfina. Child, I don't know. But all I can say is we really love our car. I really love my new car. So when I finally closed the gap on my new car recently, there was some things that clicked around what actually is in the way, okay, when you're wanting to manifest something, because the same story rings true for my car. It's not the same exact story, but the same kind of the pattern rings true for my car. Okay, in 2023, in late 2023, I got into a car accident. It was very minor. It was a very minor car accident, but obviously it was enough to total my car that I was driving at the time. Um, because the car was already 9 years old. I think it was no, the car was already 11 years old at that point. So a minor accident was enough to total the car. I could no longer drive the car. The car that I was driving at that time wasn't even my car. Well, yeah, it wasn't even my car. My mom gave me the car. So technically it was my car, but my mom gave me the car. It was her old car, and she gave me the car. When I decided to move out, she was like, "Okay, if you're going to move out, take my car. So that way you have something to drive around. You don't have to worry about buying a car immediately." And I was like, "Thank you. Okay, thank you, mommy. Thank you for coming through for me. Okay, if nobody's going to come through for me, I know mommy's going to come through for me." So, I had that car and I was driving that car around for about a year. And I got into an accident. The car was totaled. And um, at that point, there was so much going on in my, well, for me, it was a lot, right? There was a lot of transitionings, right? The time that it happened in the fall or in the autumn. And the autumn fall time is a transitional time. It's definitely a time of transitions because my energy is like waning right into November, going into December. My energy is like, okay, time for rest. Time for, doing nothing. I don't really want to do anything right now. So my car was totaled, and I was trying to figure out if I wanted to use that money, the insurance money that I was going to get for the car, to buy another car, or if I wanted to use that money to invest in my business, or if I just wanted to have that money just like for money to just have and kind of just be okay without a car for a while. I was having a really hard time getting up and like shifting, adjusting to like my daughter's kindergarten schedule. She was just starting kindergarten. I had to wake up at like 8 a.m. No, no, no. I had to wake up at like 5, 6 a.m. to make sure I got her to school at 7:50 on the dot. And it was just a lot. And I was like, do I really need a car? Like, is a car necessary right now? That was where I was at because I just felt so overwhelmed and stressed out. So ultimately, I decided to use the money to invest into my business, finally establish my business, and invest into my business credit. That was my intention and use for a portion of the money. And then time went on, and I told myself, okay, well, if I get another car, maybe I can get it in my business credit because I was learning so much about business credit. I was building my business credit. I had built up my business credit. But 2024 ended up being the year that I just wanted to have fun. I wanted to have a good time. I was like stressed out from 2022, and I was like, yeah, 2023 is going to be, I mean, not 2020, 2024. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to go out. I'm going to meet people. I'm going to meet, men. I'm going to date. I'm going to find my person. I'm just going to have a good time. And that is exactly what I did in the year of 2024. So I ain't even going to hold you. Like 2024 was a fun year for me. But it wasn't the year that I got a car. So I was having a lot of fun being carless. Um, and I had no problems with like getting Ubers and things like that. But around the end of 2024, like the summer of 2024, that was when I had my $10,000 sweepstakes win. So when I won my $10,000 sweepstakes, I was like, okay, actually, because what I'm about to say is that was when I had my opportunity to buy a car. That wasn't my first opportunity to buy a car. My first opportunity to buy a car was when I got my insurance money. But I made the decision not to use my insurance money towards that. I also had an opportunity to buy a car with my tax return money. Did not choose to use my tax return money towards buying a car. And my main hiccup was I don't want to buy a car that I'm not going to like, right? Because if I get a car, it's just going to be like an old car, like the car that I had. I don't want to spend my money on an old car. So that's where in my mind it was holding me back from like actually purchasing a car. By the summer of 2024, I had won my $10,000 sweepstakes. Okay, I can actually get a nice car for 10K. I can actually get a nice car for 10K, even if I like put down a down payment or whatever like that. I can put down, I can get a car. Basically, that was my moment that I was like, okay, I'm gonna buy a car now. I chose not to use that money to buy a car. Again, because I just didn't feel good about buying a car. I was coming up with reasons why I just didn't want to use my money to buy a car. And what I realized at that point in my heart of hearts was that I don't want to buy a car. I actually don't want to buy a car. What I actually want is I want a car. I don't want to buy one with my liquid cash. I just want to have one. I just want to have one. Okay? Now, I didn't come to that conclusion in 2024 cuz I was in a lot of the like emotions around whether or not I was making good decisions, whether or not I was using my money correctly, spending my money correctly, whether or not um, my money was going to the right places and the right spaces, right? And this is when I really locked down in 2024. I really locked down on my money work and my internal relationship with money. And you guys have been with me on that journey on this channel um somewhat um through my videos, the videos I've posted and the videos that I've shared around money and a woman's relationship with wealth and a woman's relationship with money. You all have been with me on that journey, my subscribers, right? My original subscribers. And if you're new here, welcome. Also, shout out to everyone who is watching me in this live video right now. How are you all doing? But yeah, y'all have been with me through the money journey, right? And everything that I have been teaching and sharing with you all about manifestation and money has been my own journey, my own experience, and what I have been learning about myself and my life and my relationship to money and wealth. So in 2024, I locked in on my relationship, my energetic relationship with wealth, because I was really tired of getting into these kind of spaces where I was constantly feeling this gap. All right. The gap, this gap between me and my desires. And I had managed to manifest winning a $10,000 sweepstakes. So I knew it was working. I knew that I had unlocked the code to manifesting windfalls of money. And that was where Safe to Receive was born from. Okay. My course on teaching women how to enhance their relationship with wealth and money and realize that they have been lied to about how you should be relating to wealth and how you should be relating to money, and basically unlocking the code to manifesting your next windfall. Okay. So that's all inside Safe to Receive. The link to that is in my description box below. Um, which is currently at a like the lowest price that I've ever had it, that I've kept it there for a while. So it is still at the price that it is at right now, which is currently $44. But it will likely go up in the future. So make sure you access it while you can. Um, but you all have been with me on that journey, basically, is what I'm getting at. And by the time I got into 2025, right, I moved into 2025 and everything in my life was changing because of me, right? Not because, like, well, actually, I am the universe. So it was me and it was the universe, right? Because I am the universe. But mainly, there was a lot of things coming up with me that I knew I had to make changes. And a lot of those big changes were in my relationships. I had to cut a lot of relationship dynamics like short and regain my center. My relationship with family, okay, I really had to assess and understand where I start and that other person, you know, where I end and the other person begins. In my intimate relationships and my dating life, I was like, okay, what's going on here? Because 2024 was the most abundant year of my life when it came to dating. I had a lot of men in my life. I ain't even gonna hold you. I had a lot of men in my life, and I was like, this is too many. It's too many of y'all. It's so many of y'all. I don't know who's who. I don't know who's like supposed to be here, who's real, who's not real, who's authentic, who's not authentic. So even in my relationship with relationships with my neighbors and like people, just I had to get clear, right? And I had to clear house. That was the end of 2024 for me. And going into 2025, I was trying to uphold that decision, right? And really kind of clear house for myself in 2025. So 2025, I had no real thought about getting a car. I still wanted to get a car, but my focus had completely shifted back onto taking care of myself. So in 2025, especially the beginning of 2025, I went back into it's time to take care of me mode. So my focus um, that year was um, definitely on taking care of myself. I still was in it. It's almost like the things that I intended to clear out at the end of 2024, I had to keep that up into 2025. I had to keep up the intentions of like, okay, let's make sure I have the right people in my space, the right energy in my space. And 2020, good Lord, 2025, it's too much to say 2020. 1990 was a little easier to say. Anyways, um, I get tongue tied when I say 2020 a lot. Um, my mind still wasn't on, well, my focus wasn't on getting a car still, all in all. And I was in this fog, of kind of sorting through and getting grounded and seated in who I am now. And I think that was kind of something that we all collectively were shifting through because we were moving through a 9 year and going into what we're now in a 10 year. Um, but my own personal numbers, I was moving through a personal year on top of a collective 9 year. So there was a lot of clearing house for me to do and preparing for this new beginning in my life and in my identity. So car wasn't really even on my mind. Closing the gap began when, and I'm going to go back to what I thought I came to in 2024, but I really didn't. I really came to it the beginning of this year, was realizing what I really wanted. So I knew I wanted a car, but I was not clear on exactly what kind of situation I wanted to receive the car. And that was my gap. That was a part of my gap. I also had a lot of emotions tied into the idea of having a car because I had just got into an accident. The car was totaled. Previous to me having a car, my mom's car, I had my own car. I actually had purchased my own car right before I graduated college. And the energy around my first car purchase, there was some trauma around that, okay? Because the car ended up getting repossessed. I purchased a car as a graduation gift to myself. Previous to then, my dad bought me or gave me, I wouldn't say bought me, he gave me a couple of cars to drive while I was in college. And then when my second car was like basically broke down and lost its life, I went and I bought a new car, a brand new car. And this was the advice my dad gave me, right? He was like, well, you have a cousin that works at a dealership. He can get you a good deal on a car. He was like, if you want to afford the payments, you can Uber. This was when nobody was really Ubering. Okay. So he was like, yeah, you can Uber to afford your car payments. If that'll be a good idea. And I trusted my dad and his advice and I went for it, right? I definitely feel like I manifested a brand new car for myself and I was happy that I was able to do that for myself. I also had my cousin in my ear at the time because when my car broke down, I didn't have anywhere. Like I lived in, so I was living in, going to school in New Orleans, going to college in New Orleans, and I had moved to Slidell, which is like on the outskirts of New Orleans, and I was driving back and forth from Slidell to New Orleans to go to school. So when my car broke down, I still had to go to school, but I didn't have a car. So I ended up um, staying with my cousin who lived like not far from my school at all. So it made it really convenient for me to still be able to make it to class um, while not having a car. And so I was staying with her for maybe like a month until I got my car. Maybe it wasn't a month, I don't know. But my cousin was in my ear and she was like, well, if you're going to buy a car, get the car that you want. Don't just get a car, get the car that you want. Okay, it was honestly, that was honestly, that was good advice too. I'm not going to say it was bad advice. On like thinking about it, like that was good advice for her to give me because I had a 0%, I believe it was like 0.4% APR on that car. I was basically paying nothing in interest because I had like a new car college graduate deal, and my cousin was getting me the car, so he got me a really good deal. So anyway, I had a brand new car. I was so happy. I was on cloud nine. I felt really good about myself. You know, when you get a brand new car, it definitely does enhance your aura because it has the vibration of money attached to it. It like whenever you, this is another reason why I realize now that I wasn't buying a car with like the money that I had because I knew that I didn't want to get like a regular old car, or I knew I didn't want to get something that didn't make me feel a certain way. But that wasn't something that I realized until later on. Okay? Until later on, until like really the beginning of this year. So this is all like a part of what it looks like to close the gap is when I started getting clear on these things, right? And how actually important these things are was when the gap started closing and I started accepting these things about myself instead of forcing myself to accept something that I knew that I didn't really want. So sometimes your desire is clouded by everything that people are expecting you to accept about your desire or whatever it takes to achieve your desire. Okay. And that is in the way of you closing the gap. So that was the case, right, for my car. That also was the case for when I was moving out and moving on my own and finally got my own apartment. Okay, huge apartment. Like for Seattle apartments, huge apartment and perfect, perfect, like perfect for where I was at financially. So, there could be things around your desire, right? So for me, moving into a new space, the things that were around my desire was like, you know, well, if you want to move out, you know, how are you going to have this? How are you going to have that? Right? Like the seeds, it could be seeds of doubt that other people place, but a lot of the times it's your own mind coming up with scenarios and reasons as to why it's going to be hard to get this thing. Because when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, well, I don't have that right now. I don't have this right now. You know, the things that people are expecting me to have to be able to qualify or to be able to move out or whatever like that, I don't have that right now. That is in the way, right? That is in the way of you closing the gap. It could also be where you are at in your life that's making you feel insecure about being capable, right? I was a new mom and I was having health issues. I could barely like function normally, barely function normally. Every other second, I was having a panic attack or anxiety, derealization, right? Experiencing derealization every 5 seconds of the day. I was in no, like, in my head, it was in no position to like be on my own with my baby. I just didn't trust it, right? So once I realized that all of these things, it could be doubts that people are placing in your mind, it could be insecurities that you have about your identity and your capabilities. These things are going to stop the gap from closing. It could also be you, again, not accepting your desire as being the thing that you desire, right? So sometimes we're in denial about what it is we truly want because we feel like we have to do things in that way that, you know, either we think we need to do it or in the way that we think is practical, right? Practical enough to do it. So when it came to me manifesting my car, I realized that number one, I wasn't accepting the fact that I wanted to just have a car. I didn't want to put money down on a car. I didn't want to spend spend a lot of money on a car. I just wanted to have a car. I didn't want to think about like expending cash flow on the car. And the thing is, I knew that was the truth because I had literally just like an extra $10,000 had just landed into my lap and I did not want to spend any of that money on a car. I did not want to spend any of that money on having a car, which I found was like the weirdest thing. I was so weirded out by myself. I was like, Asaya, like, what is wrong with you? You literally have been wanting a car. You have the extra money to be able to go and buy yourself a car. Why are you like, when I tell you, like, my money, I knew I didn't want to spend that money on the car, but I was in denial about it. And because of that, it threw my nervous system all out of whack when it came to like the way I was spending my money. And this is again where I'm coming back to like how I had to work on my relationship with money and how that cultivating that relationship I realized was so important because I'm like, bruh, I can't live my life like this. Every time I have something that I want or a desire, I can't be like going all crazy when I do receive large sums of money and then like my mind is like and my nervous system is beating itself up because I'm not doing something that I clearly don't want to do. So by the time 2026 came, I accepted my desire. First and foremost, I accepted the fact that I want to have a car. I didn't do that so much in the previous years. I was kind of like, is a car necessary? Is it really necessary? But in 2026, I was like, no, like having a car now is going to open up my life. It's going to open up my daughter's life. She needs to live more life. I need to live more life. and it represents freedom, right? Actually having a car represents freedom and being able to travel and being able to move. I had, again, I had men in my life, just like before when I had the gap between me being and living in my parents' house and me moving out. And I had men offering me opportunities to move out and whatever like that, men and women, alike. I also had men offering me opportunities, to buy me a car, right? I had someone who actually offered to buy me a car. I actually had someone who was offering to help me to get a car. Like, I had the opportunity, right? So it's like, what is really going on when there's something that you really want, and it's like, that all of these different avenues have been like kind of trying to bring it in, but it hasn't happened or it hasn't landed. It's because there's a gap. Okay. So these were some of the things that I had to realize to close that gap. And for my car, these were those things, right? Getting clear, accepting that I wanted to have a car in the way that I wanted to have a car. I didn't want to do it that way. I didn't want to spend money. I didn't want to do this. Like, I didn't want, also really didn't want anybody else's energy on the car, which is, I think, why I didn't accept help or push for anybody else getting the car for me. My mom was like trying to be like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna help you get a car when I sell my house. And I'm just like, no, like, I want to buy my own car. Okay. I had trauma around my first car. I actually don't think I wrapped that story up. Trauma around my first car that I purchased. Okay. And the reason that I had trauma around that is because everything in my life was going really beautifully, except for the fact that I got into a relationship with the wrong man. And next thing you know, like, before I'm in the relationship, I'm in college. I just graduated. I got my degree. I'm getting ready to figure out my life, find out what I'm going to do with myself. I had my own car, right? And then, like, into that 2 to 3 months into that relationship, I would say, like, once I exited that relationship, by that time, I was suffering mentally and emotionally, depressed. Okay. I was having health issues. I was pregnant. I ended up losing my car. My car got repossessed because I got to a point in my health issues that I wasn't able to work. And I was trying to figure out ways to discharge my car debt. That didn't work out. I wasn't able to show up to the court dates and show up fully to be able to do that because of all the things the stress I was dealing with. And this is where the Sovereign Queen Guardian, this is why I say the Sovereign Queen Guardian is so important, because being able to, it's not enough to manifest something. Because at that time, I manifested my car, manifested my degree, I manifested a lot of things, but I was not able to hold what I was bringing in because I had collapsed in my power. In that situation, not just to the man that I was with at the time, but it was leaking out in my family relationships, you know, in what I was attempting to do in my own business and my own entrepreneurship. Like, it was a rough, right? It was a rough learning curve for me, my early 20s. So knowing how to close the gap is important, but knowing how to hold your power when you're closing the gap is also very important. So I am saying all that to say that if you are wanting to close the gap on a desire in your own life, if you're wanting to manifest something in the same way that I was able to, like after years of not having a car, I was able to walk into the dealership, and I honestly didn't think I was going to get a car on that very same day. I was expecting to actually get it in the next week, which technically that is the way that it happened. I went into the dealership, and um when I went into the dealership, I knew the car that I wanted. I knew I had already had the test drive scheduled and everything like that. And I mean, it was within like me just being there, right? And that session that I had with the car salesman, actually, everything was really in alignment too. When I'm thinking about it, like everything felt in alignment, everything felt like good, right? Which is how it's supposed to feel. But he was able to get me a car, like a good deal. And at that point, I was like impressed because I was like, I didn't think you were going to be able to get me a deal. I'm going to be honest, because I was still working on my personal credit. I had worked on my business credit, but I had managed to get my TransUnion score up to like 750. But my other bureaus were looking look crazy. So I was like, I don't know if you can do this, but if you can do this, if you can get me a good deal, using my TransUnion and, with a credit union, because I knew I wanted to finance through a credit union. If for financing, then yeah, I'll leave with the car. And I don't know what kind of fire I lit in this man's eyes, but I guess that was like a challenge for him. And he was like, oh, she said she gonna leave with a car if I can get her, X, Y, and Z. So he ended up getting me a deal. But initially the deal he got me sucked. Okay. I ain't gonna lie. The deal he got me, it was like I was paying double on the car that I was expecting to pay. And I was like, I don't know about this one, but it's time to close the gap, Asaya. This is what I was saying to myself. I was like, I don't like that deal 100%. I didn't say that out loud, but I was like, you know what? It's time for me to get a car. So I was like, okay, I'll go with it. I'll go with it because I don't want to wait anymore. I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of, postponing. I'm tired of like pushing it off. I'm going to go with this deal. So we actually didn't move forward with the deal on that day. We ended up moving forward with the deal a week, exactly a week later, which is when I said I was going to actually get a car anyway, was the next week. There was some issues that was going on, like with the finance or the lender being able to access my report because I had a fraud alert on my report. I was really confused about that at first. And I was like, at first I was thinking, is somebody trying to jinx me? Because I'm like, that don't make no sense. Like, what you're saying doesn't make any sense. So after that week, I was a little bit anxious about it. I was like, he got me a deal, but I don't know if it's going to go through because they keep saying that the lender is having trouble. And it wasn't making any sense to me. And after I left the dealership, the car salesman was horrible, like horribly communicating with me. I was not getting a lot of communication with him at all. So finally, a week later, he messages me and he's like, I'm sorry. My phone has been acting up. My phone was broken, and that's why I haven't been able to get back to you. And he gave me some more clarity, and he was saying that I had a fraud alert on my credit report. And that's why the lender it hasn't been able to move forward. And I was like, oh, well, if that's the issue, let me just call my credit bureau and see if they can fix it. And so I did. And the credit bureau was like, oh, yeah, we can take that off. We can take the fraud alert off. And then you can get your car. And then once you get your car, call us back. We'll put it back on. So I was like, bet. And that's exactly what I did. And that same day I went in and I picked the car up. That same day I went in and I picked the car up. And when I went in, the deal that I ended up getting was way better. Like it was actually in alignment with what I originally wanted for the car. Anyway, so I was like, yeah, everything was lining up, everything was in alignment. But the key was I was closing the gap. And I was closing the gap by the way that I um number one, I mean, I've been going over all the things, right? All the points that I have that I did, some of the points. I wouldn't say it's all of the points, but these are some of the major points that I did to close the gap, right? Getting clear on what I actually wanted, recognizing that I had trauma and insecurities around this actual desire, and accepting that I wanted the thing right now. Okay, all that closed the gap. And so when I went in and they told me that they got me a better deal, I'm just like, this is exactly what I wanted for myself. But I had opportunities to collapse. I had an opportunity to collapse when, the salesman was like showing me that horrible rate. I had an opportunity to collapse when the credit bureau, or not the credit bureau, when the lender was like, I was unsure of why they weren't like, they approved me, but they weren't moving forward with the loan. And I wasn't getting any communication from the salesman. I could have collapsed then and I could have been like, yeah, this is this is weird. Like, I don't want to move forward with it. But none of that was enough to make me fold. None of that was enough to make me fold. So with that being said, okay, there is something in your life, if there is something in your life right now that has been taking a really long time to manifest, to come into your life, if you have felt a lot of frustration around it and there has been just a lot of energy around this thing happening, but no actual movement around it happening, I am offering 5 days of one-on-one coaching for women who are ready to close the gap on their long held desire right now. And that is something that I have recognized that I've been able to do, not just with manifesting my car, but also me. Like, it was the same click when I moved into my new apartment, right? That ended up happening after years, right? Of not living on my own. There was a gap that I decided was about to close. So there's a series of things that you need to move through. A few of those things I mentioned in the side video. But there's a series of things that you need to move through to close the gap. Okay? And I want to help a select few women. It's not going to be able to be that many women because this is one-on-one. And It's going to be for 5 days. But for right now, I have I have significantly discounted the price for only the next 3 days. So for the next 72 hours, you can enter into what I've called She Receives. Okay, this is what this activation, or I will call it a receiving portal. Okay, this is what this receiving portal is. This is the She Receives receiving portal. So I want you to clock that thing that you have been wanting for a really long time that just hasn't shown up. It's always been something in the way. It's always been some reason that you don't want to move forward with it. Or you know that it's like you've had different opportunities to have it, but it's still not coming in. Okay, if you would like me to help you one-on-one to close that gap, there's a series of things that I'm going to be bringing the women who choose to work with me through for these 5 days. We're going to be starting mid-April, so in a few weeks. We're going to be starting because April is like around the corner. So around April 15th or a little bit past April 15th, the exact date will be announced. But for 72 hours only, you have the ability to get 5 days of coaching, one on one coaching with me for only $197. So the link to that is in the description. She Receives. And if you want to also pre enroll into the Sovereign Queen Guardian, this is my course where I'm teaching you how to hold your power when you do manifest your thing, so that situations like what happened to me and my car getting repossessed, right? I manifested the car, but then it got repossessed. Or maybe it might be scenarios where you're manifesting big amounts of money, but it's like, where is it going, right? Or you feel like you're spending it on things, or it's going to places that aren't going back to you, right? The Sovereign Queen Guardian is teaching you how to sit on your throne. So you can add the Sovereign Queen Guardian on to She Receives for only $97, also for 72 hours only. The Sovereign Queen Guardian is currently $397 the by itself alone. So one-on-one with me for 5 days, okay, plus the Sovereign Queen Guardian, you're getting a huge deal. Now this is only for, obviously those of you who could really benefit from these prices. But this is going to be for 72 hours only. And then my one-on-one She Receives is going to go back to 5 weeks of one-on-one coaching to teach you how to close the gap, okay, on your long held desire. And that is going to be starting shortly after the 5 day one-on-one. So I already have had a few women who have chosen to snag their spot. So if this is something that you know that you want to let go of continuously having this distance between you and your desire, no matter how big it feels and no matter how long it's been since you feel like the thing has happened. Okay, this is especially for women who definitely have started to cultivate like a sense of hopelessness around something that they really want. Relationships alike, okay? Relationships alike. This is your chance to get access to one-on-one coaching with me for 5 days. So the link to that is down in the description. And yeah, y'all let me know how you liked this live video. What did you get out of it? Has there been something that you have been wanting for a really long time that you haven't felt like you have not received? You can share what that is down in the comments or whatever has resonated with you, and even let me know any questions that you might have that will give me ideas for topics that I will have in the future. But um, I'm gonna see how this goes. I wanna usually in the spring and in the autumn is when I have the most energy to show up online in my business. And then during the winter and the summer, I take a back seat and kind of let things kind of just flow, evergreen, and just do what it wants to do. But the spring is here again, and I feel the surge of energy coming back to me. So um we'll see how it goes, because I want to start going live every day, almost every day again. Not every single day, but pretty a lot more often. Um all right, y'all. So I'm about to head over to my other channel, my other Asaya Mystic channel. That's another thing. I have not been active on my other Asaya Mystic channel for years. And YouTube sent me an email talking about hey, you haven't been active for some years, so we about to shut down your YouTube partner program. Because I just kind of been coasting and like still kind of letting the money from that channel just come in. But YouTube's like, hey, if you're not gonna make no more videos, we're gonna shut you down. Oh my gosh, YouTube. Anyway. Oh Lord, y'all, my daughter is sleeping in my bed right now. She talking in her sleep.
The cup because it turned into a dang phoenix. And
so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and hop over to my Asaya Mystic channel. My Asaya Mystic channel. Because it's time. Even though YouTube is putting that pressure on me, I feel like it is time for me to come back, because I don't want to let Asaya Mystic go. And there's a lot that I do still want to share, but I've been a super perfectionist about it. But this time around, I am just going to show up and not think so much, but just show up. So thank y'all for joining me. If you want to join me on my next live video on my Asaya Mystic channel, go to the link in my description. It's down at the bottom. And if you enjoyed this live and want to support my channel, you can hit up my PayPal and my Cash Apps. Those are also down below in the description. Anything that you send is appreciated. I hope you all have a wonderful, beautiful rest of your day.